Okay, let's dive right into this explainer, where we're going to completely shatter the illusion of safety surrounding our retirement accounts. We're looking at a fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying phenomenon today. We're talking about how blind trust costs both high-flying billionaires and everyday, hard-working people massive amounts of money. It's a quiet, almost invisible drain on your wealth that happens completely out of sight. But don't worry, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to spot it.
To truly wrap our heads around what's happening with our own money, we actually have to start by looking at one of the most famous figures in personal development, Tony Robbins. Now, here's a guy worth over $500 million. Someone with 30 years of experience reading people, right? Analyzing human behavior is literally his day job. Yet he's signed a seemingly simple business deal with a partner who claimed to be deeply connected to the multi-billion-dollar Amway empire. On paper, it looked like an absolute slam dunk.
But, well, there was a massive hidden problem. That partner completely misrepresented his wealth and his actual position. Turns out he was only worth about $5 million. And when the businesses they bought together started to tank, the truth finally came out. This deception left Robbins personally liable for a staggering $125 million. Just pause and imagine that number sitting on your desk, all because of one single signature.
Now, you're probably wondering, how does one partner take the full hit for a group deal? Well, that brings us to a legal structure called joint and several liability. Basically, this specific clause meant that the $125 million debt wasn't split evenly among the business partners. Because the others couldn't pay their share, the entire amount landed squarely on Robbins' shoulders. He made the critical and incredibly common mistake of trusting a relationship first and verifying the financial facts later.
What's truly wild, though, is how he reacted to this financial disaster. He didn't sue the partner. He didn't spiral into denial or just walk away from the financial world altogether. Instead, he absorbed the loss, completely restructured his finances, and went on a mission. He spent the next several years personally interviewing over 50 of the absolute greatest financial minds on the planet. We're talking titans like Ray Dalio, Warren Buffett, and Tudor Jones. He took all of that insider knowledge and wrote a best-selling personal finance book, really exposing how the financial system is specifically designed to hide the truth from us.
Sure, $125 million is undeniably a billionaire's problem, but the mechanics of this mistake, they're totally universal. Because according to Robbins' extensive research, an ordinary American making just $30,000 a year loses an average of $155,000 over their lifetime to the exact same psychological mistake of unverified trust. We are trusting the system instead of verifying the numbers.
And when you zoom out, the scale of this is just breathtaking. If you multiply that $155,000 individual loss across the roughly 60 million Americans who currently have an active 401k retirement account, you are looking at a completely legal wealth transfer measured in trillions of dollars. Trillions! This massive amount of money is quietly moving from regular everyday savers straight into the pockets of the financial industry, and it's all hidden right there in the fine print without a single headline or arrest.
It's kind of like your retirement savings is a bucket. Every time you get a paycheck, you pour a little more water into it. But imagine that bucket has a microscopic hole in the bottom. Every single day, a few invisible drops leak out. Now, in the short term, one drop doesn't matter at all. You wouldn't even notice it. But over 30 years of daily, unverified drops, that tiny leak slowly turns into a massive puddle the size of a swimming pool. And that puddle is your missing wealth. Let's actually run the math on that leaky bucket. Over a 40-year period, if two people invest the exact same amount of money and get the exact same 8% return before fees, the outcome is drastically different based on one tiny number. Person A is in an actively managed fund, meaning they're paying high fees for a professional to try and pick winning stocks, costing them 3.17%. That ends up eating over $294,000 of their money. Person B, on the other hand, uses a plain index fund, just simply tracking the market with a tiny 0.17% fee. That only costs them about $24,000 over the exact same period.
So think about that difference, nearly $270,000. I really want you to grasp this. That is money that never underperformed the market. It didn't vanish in a stock market crash or a bad trade. It was simply quietly redirected out of the saver's account and into the financial industry's hands, all because of a tiny percentage fee that nobody ever bothered to look up.
Which leads us to a very real, very important question. Why do incredibly intelligent people ignore something this massively important? Well, just like Tony Robbins trusted a bad resume and a handshake instead of verifying credentials, we do the exact same thing with our retirement. We trust the familiar logos of our employers. We trust our HR departments who hand us the paperwork. We constantly mistake that warm familiarity for financial safety, never actually verifying what we're signing up for when we pick our funds.
We also buy into a brilliantly marketed story. Behavioral finance research shows that an astounding 96% of actively managed funds fail to beat the market over a 15-year period. Let that sink in. Only 4% actually succeed, yet these actively managed funds still attract far more new money every single year than boring, low-fee index funds. The industry isn't necessarily lying to you, they're just selling you a confident fund manager and a slick narrative, while never volunteering the real numbers that would actually change your decision.
And you know what's crazy? This isn't a new trick at all. Historically, we're just repeating the late 1980s and early 90s. Back then, hidden fees and undisclosed commissions in limited partnerships completely wiped out retail investors and retirees who thought they were buying safe products. It was such a massive wealth drain that regulators eventually had to step in, forcing the industry to pay billions of dollars in settlements.
But here's the unbelievable catch. Those regulators didn't actually ban the complex wealth training structures. Nope, they just required disclosures. This meant Wall Street shifted its strategy from hiding fees to simply burying them in plain sight. Today, these fees are completely legal, technically disclosed, and wrapped up in highly technical 401k documents that absolutely nobody ever reads. The law changed to require paperwork, but our human habit of never checking the fine print? That stayed exactly the same.
So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with one final, absolutely vital thought. If a financially sophisticated half-billionaire can lose $125 million simply by failing to verify one detail about a relationship, what assumption are you making about your own money right now? I challenge you. Log into your retirement account today, dig into that unread document, and find the fee line you've been blindly trusting. Are you pouring your entire future into a leaky bucket,